one of the things that I think we should be talking about is not digital front doors. We should be talking about digital health homes. So, in terms of having a digital health home, it goes back to that concept of having one trusted place that a patient can go when they're seeking virtual care, or in general, that they're seeking care. And if virtual care is the right option for them, great. If it's not, you still connect with a provider and get, or whatever that infrastructure that you have, and you get connected to that right locale.
New choices, new players, new models of care. Consumer first healthcare is everywhere. For us to build the future, to see what's new, we gotta look at the world from a different point of view. Consumer innovation ain't going away. I say it's here to stay. Today it leads the way. We gotta drop the silos. We're all the same team. Experience, business, tech, and marketing. So join us now. Join the revolution. Consumer first health is the evolution. Status quo or like status no. Yeah, this is the healthcare rap. Yo, come on, let's go.
Welcome back to the leading podcast about consumer-centered health. We're continuing to drive change at the intersection of traditional sick care and consumer-based well care. Our goal is to influence healthcare leaders to design products and services that are centered around what people actually need from their healthcare experience, and to inform everyday consumers about those products and services. I'm Jared Johnson, and this is episode 442. Today we have the Flava of the week about Whoop's warning letter from the FDA. What are both sides claiming about Whoop's blood pressure insights feature, and what could be the implications for the broader wearables market? I'll talk about that. Then Michael Dalton, founder and CEO of Ovatient, joins us to talk about how we should be talking about digital front doors in 2025, how to move from a patient portal to a patient journey, and the tech that's needed to connect beyond episodes of care. It's time for the awesomeness, y'all. Are you ready? Let's go. Flava of the week. The FDA is having their say in the latest public debate over how to classify wearables. Will Ahmed, CEO of Whoop, is pushing back after the FDA issued a letter against their blood pressure insights feature. He argues the feature is a wellness tool, not a medical device, providing daily estimates of blood pressure from overnight data to help users optimize recovery and performance. Whoop labels it clearly, requires user acknowledgement, and has invited FDA review, which was declined. Ahmed said the FDA's stance stifles innovation and misinterprets the 21st Century Cures Act, which allows non-diagnostic wellness tools. Whoop stands by its approach and vows to fight what it sees as regulatory overreach, emphasizing Americans' right to access their own health data. The FDA asserts that any software providing blood pressure data requires medical device regulation, regardless of disclaimers. They argue that BPI's design, including its outputs of blood pressure measurements and color-coded ranges, indicates an intended use related to disease diagnosis. They also cite concerns about the potential for inaccurate readings to have significant consequences for users. So, Whoop maintains that consumers have a right to access their health data and that BPI supports preventative health, and Ahmed has publicly stated that the FDA is overstepping its authority by classifying BPI as a medical device. The situation's ongoing, with Whoop given 15 business days to respond to the FDA's warning and outline corrective actions. I'm keeping an eye on this situation because the outcome will likely have implications for the broader wearable technology industry and how similar products are regulated in the future. This has always been one of the hurdles for digital health innovators, and as we keep learning on this show, the current generation of wearables shows more potential than we've ever seen before to not only track health conditions, but to detect them in advance. So I definitely don't want to stifle innovation here. If Whoop has been playing by the rules, I don't want to stop their momentum. And it does sound like they have a valid argument against the claims. This is what happens at the cutting edge, and this won't be the last time it happens in the wearables space. Digital health has long blurred the lines between wellness tools and medical devices, and that alone is a reason to pay attention to what happens next with Whoop. Either way, I want what's best for consumers, those who are using insights from Whoop and other remarkable technologies to guide their health and wellness choices. It's funny to think what happens when wellness tech gets stifled. In my closet, I still have a Bluetooth blood pressure cuff from 10 years ago. At the time, it was truly cutting edge, but it hasn't even been able to turn on or connect to my last 3 phones, so it's utterly useless. Wearables have come a long way since then, and I don't want Whoop becoming obsolete anytime soon. So let's hope this standoff with the FDA gets resolved sooner rather than later, so we can get back to focusing on the cool things that it's telling us. Let's pay close attention to the resolution of Whoop's warning letter so we can stay on top of the implications for the wearables market and us as health consumers. That's another way that we'll build the healthcare of tomorrow, and that's the Flava of the week. Hey y'all, I'm here with Sina Arham, founder of Friday's Health. Sina, what do you think is broken in the traditional approach to metabolic health, and what are you doing to flip the script?
Let's be honest, the moment in metabolic health is being driven by the GLP-1 receptor agonist class of medications, right? We finally have something that is addressing metabolic health, obesity, and type 2 diabetes in an elegant fashion, right? It's efficacious, it's manageable for patients. And so I think we're having our moment in metabolic health in that the old guard of tackling metabolic health and obesity has a lot of stigma attached to it, a lot of shame and blame and guilt.
Thanks, Sina. Visit joinfridays.com for more information and tell them you heard about it from the Healthcare Wrap.
The flow.
All right, let's get into the flow. Zane, welcome back. How have things been for you?
Not bad, Jared. It's finally a summer day in Detroit. I think last episode we recorded, I was complaining that it was cool, and it's finally 80 degrees here. So that's good for Detroit. So excited.
You're looking forward to the 80-degree days. That's okay.
Yes, I understand it's different down there in Arizona.
Maybe it's the time of year for me to come visit. I don't know. We need to work something out. It'll be getting really hot here really soon. So we're looking forward to speaking with Michael and bringing him on the show in just a moment. I wonder what you're hoping to get out of today's conversation with him.
Bunch of stuff. So I know we've chatted about this on the show before, talking about health systems who come together to do cool things. And so I don't want to steal the lead here, but Ovation Health is a collaboration between Metro Health in Cleveland and the Medical University of South Carolina. So just excited to hear part of that story and why is it that these organizations decided to create Ovation Health and what it means to their communities. And then also, I mean, we should confess, the Medical University of South Carolina through Crystal Broy has been on this show a few times now. So a friendly face there. And I'm excited. I think the hotel health space is still booming. That whole chapter isn't done yet. I think a lot of people think of it as a commodity, but there's still some very cool ways that health systems and emerging companies can use telehealth services. And so I'm excited to see what Mr. Dalton has to share with us today.
Perfect. Well, all right, let's welcome our guest. We're here with Michael Dalton, who is the founder and CEO of Ovatient. Michael, welcome to the Healthcare Wrap.
Thank you, gentlemen. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I think Zane set us up in a good direction here. So wondering if you could start with maybe the 2-minute summary of who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive into the Ovatient story after that.
Sure. So I'm Michael Dalton. I'm the founder and CEO of Ovatient. It's a virtual first multi-specialty care delivery company. We're built on Epic, and we were built out of a partnership, as Zane alluded to, between MUSC Health and the Metro Health System in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm a healthcare operator turned entrepreneur. I've spent the last 15 years at the intersection of clinical delivery, systems change, as well as health innovation. And my background, it's a blend in hospital operations, strategy, health policy, which is where I really got my roots, and then also product and program development.
Okay, so yeah, let's dive into the Ovatient side, because I think that just layers onto who you are and what you do. But let's talk about what it is itself, but also what problems it was built to solve, because I'd love to hear how that was approached differently from other solutions on the market.
I started this journey with Ovatient. Really, we started as a virtual care strategy. I was the vice president for the virtual care enterprise, which was a new department, a new initiative that started over 5 years ago at the Metro Health System. And what I say is we started with a strategy that became a company. What we were solving for is what I encountered so many different times is we would be looking to incorporate or integrate a digital health or virtual care offering and into our care ecosystem. And oftentimes, the first question was, is it integrated on Epic? Because if it wasn't integrated on Epic, our providers likely weren't going to use it. And so what we thought about was, okay, what if we took an Epic first approach? And part of it, though, too, is we realized that was going to be so important for not only our providers, but also any providers we partnered with or we worked with. And what I envisioned was, how do we create a solution that can scale, not just for an N of 1, but an N of 20? So other small to medium-sized health systems that didn't necessarily have the digital health know-how or the virtual care infrastructure, the clinical informatics expertise. The idea was, how can we build this for you on Epic and then be able to integrate and interface that, for you? And that was really that vision. I think that people will say, hey, I can do virtual care. We do virtual care at our health system. But do you do it well?
Yep.
Do you actually think about where that patient is in their journey? Or are you just thinking about where that care delivery infrastructure is today and you're doing it within your office? But it still requires that patient in your mind largely to start with you in your office, not in all the infrastructure. That's great. But that's why I think we make a distinction of saying, how can we be virtual first? It's a little cliche now because people say meeting patients where they're at, but I truly want to be able to provide a care model that starts where the patient is and then leverages the investments that health systems have made in their infrastructure, like imaging, their pharmacy, so on and so forth. So that's really where we started. And it's a blessing to be able to have found Metro Health and MUSC, is that they realized that they could not change themselves fast enough. And that while they did have, I think, especially for MUSC, a legacy in being able to provide telehealth, a lot of that was focused on inpatient and specialty. And where we started was in a primary care model and being that quarterback for the patient.
I love it. I think it makes me think of the earlier days when people were launching EICU and virtual nursing, things like that, where in that model, it's always a dedicated group of people because they, again, kind of recognize the change management, and it's hard to do telehealth well at the corner of your desk or when you're trying to manage other things. Then, of course, in today's day, presumably patients would expect to be able to connect with a provider almost instantly. And so if someone's running an ER shift or seeing patients in person, it might be difficult to get them. So I could totally understand why you would want to push for essentially a virtuous group of providers to ultimately serve both organizations through Ovatient.
One of the things that we talk about too is, and it's a kind of a tagline that we have, we talk about it's virtual care that's entirely human. We do not want to take that human element out of patient care. And we've talked about this and I've written about it in some of our blogs, but just being able to talk about rebuilding trust with primary care, with the healthcare infrastructure. We've seen trust in healthcare as an industry and with physicians, with just providers in general, has really started to dwindle over the last 5 years. So I think that's part of it. If I talk about virtual care being that great equalizer, it's just like, us right now. If you're on video, you're being able to connect and see each other. That's really between you and the patient. There's no white coat syndrome per se, because it's just you, that camera, that screen, and your patient and your provider.
Love it. Love it.
Healthcare Wrap is sponsored by Cyril. Whether you're trying to drive patient volume as a healthcare provider, boost membership enrollment as a health insurer, drive improved adherence rates in pharma, or deepen strategic B2B partnerships throughout the healthcare ecosystem, Cyril can help you with your go-to-market efforts and growth targets, enabling you to reach the clinical and financial goals of your healthcare organization. For more information, go to Cyril.com. That's CYRALL.com.
Hey y'all, I'm here with Jessica Holton, co-founder of Ours Privacy. Jessica, how do health systems know how much marketing data to track?
Know what you're optimizing for. We see and hear about a lot of teams that are tracking everything they possibly can, which you would think is more info is better, and we can make more decisions if we have more information. But actually, it just sends more data that is potentially PHI, and you have less control over it when you're tracking everything. Instead, choose 1 to 2 key metrics that you are tracking and focus on those metrics.
Thanks, Jessica. Visit oursprivacy.com for more information and tell them you heard about it on the Healthcare Wrap.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, Michael, about how is it that patients actually access the service? What does it look like? Do they go through their MyChart to find it? It is on MUSC's website or Metro Health's website. What is kind of that consumer journey or that digital front door sort of look like when folks are ready to access your services?
What we wanted to make for any of the patients, when they're seeking care, we wanted it to be second nature for them. So it needed to be part of that natural care journey that a patient would have if they were engaging with MUSC or Metro Health. So that means that we're located in their MyChart, we're located in a provider directory. If you're calling the access center, it's still an offering that you should be able to get that care how you want it, when you want it. And you alluded to this notion of a digital front door. And I would just say that one of the things that I think we should be talking about is not digital front doors. We should be talking about digital health homes. That's something that I've trademarked, but I will just also a shameless plug.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard that before. Have you, Jared?
Tell us more.
In terms of having a digital health home, it goes back to that concept of having one trusted place that a patient can go when they're seeking virtual care, or in general, that they're seeking care. And if virtual care is the right option for them, great. If it's not, you still connect with a provider and get, or whatever that infrastructure that you have, and you get connected to that right locale. At the same time, it really comes down to as well having a differentiated experience that you can provide. For us, we're looking at an employer group. So in this instance, we've created a platform. We just launched it a couple weeks ago called My Care Anywhere. It's Epic integrated. It's using MyChart, its username and password as a single sign-on, pulling information in so that there's no multiple experiences. It really should be one experience, one single sign-on as you're engaging. Our director of marketing and communications kind of refers this to as having one homepage. It's your Metro Health, your MUSC homepage. It's one place to be able to go, as well as being able to, as you think about within that digital experience that we have, all of the singular digital experiences or apps should really be interfaced and integrated into one experience. So when you're engaging with Metro Health or MUSC or you name it health system, that patient is feeling like they are known, the care that's personalized, the information is coming from their EMR and their medical record to then reflect the next best action that patient needs to be able to take at their trusted local health system. When they have a question, no disrespect to Mayo or the Cleveland Clinic or other large health systems, when they're searching for that information and they're looking to Dr. Google, they're actually looking within that digital health home and searching on the question that they have that then guides them to the action that they should take within their health system. Because otherwise, right now, when you're looking for that question, you get a disparate answer and then you're still left to figure out, how do I navigate this journey? And in that digital health home, you are able to then have that navigation and get directed to the right place of care.
Love it.
I think we're really latching onto this concept. I'm wondering how we can spread the word about this and kind of get this to become more of a standard, or at least a talking point, because this is resonating a lot in terms of who navigates your journey for you, right? And I think that's always been a question about anything in this space, and why the concept of digital front doors, even all along, has been, okay, cool. Like, yeah, you've got to get that figured out, but that's still just the front door. You have to walk in the door. You have to knock on the door. Like, it depends on how deep you want to go on that particular analogy.
I say there's no wrong door. You could have a side door, back door, trap door, garage door. That's your home. That's what you got to have.
We've heard the term doggy door in my day job, the digital front doggy door. Garage door, back door, trap door.
Well, let's talk about that actually for a second. You're like, what should we be talking about with how a digital front door relates to this? Because it has been described as sometimes a virtual appointment, virtual care episode can be that door, or the door to that door almost. I don't know. I've heard it described so many different ways. Like, how should we be thinking about digital front doors in 2025?
I think if you go back to that analogy of like the digital health home or that concept, it is about, you want to be welcomed into your home. And so when I talk about that with some of my customers, this notion of there is no wrong door, when that patient walks in and you're able to assess, triage, and get them routed to the appropriate place. And maybe 90% of the time, it's going to be within that virtual care setting, and you're going to be able to address the care need that the patient has. And if not, and I'll be honest, our ED volume in terms of like escalation, it's very similar to if a patient had gone to an express care. But the whole point, so that's in person. The patient is still staying where they're at. They have a question or a concern. We're able to do the assessment, do the triage, and get them to the next level of care. And so I think really thinking about moving from, I think, a patient portal to a patient journey, and I know that is very somewhat overplayed. And even some of what we're doing in our My Care Anywhere platform, we have a number of patient journeys, activities, programs. We realize that right now, those are static. They need to be personalized. And we're working with our partners to be able to take information from the medical record and that patient journey. And life happens in your home. Like, you need to be able to then personalize that and give that patient then a recommendation, or be able to give them, and not just the recommendation, but actually if it's a little bit of a nudge, or to be able to bring them along, be able to then even, can't replace the human touch. That's the whole point. If you're seeing that patient is engaging from a digital perspective, then you need to make a house call. I know we're on a podcast, but like quote unquote, like house call, make the outbound outreach, whether that's digital or with a person. But that's what we've seen so often time is actually what will get that patient. There's only so far you're going to go from a digital perspective. And I know I'm a virtual care company, but the whole point is you still have to have that human element and that human touch. And so I think that's really what's important is don't expect to create a digital front door that patient is somehow then going to know how to perfectly navigate it. You are going to have to curate, and you kind of have to be the Sherpa to continue to bring them along. And they're going to need help. They're going to need people to be able to assist them to do that.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the touch points where that tends to happen, which is way before the patient journey, way before you become a patient. And they're the areas that you're thinking about something health related, but you're not a patient yet. You're not ready to do that. And those are a lot of the areas we've been talking about this season on the show. Healthcare adjacent areas, preventive and wellness areas, connected fitness, nutrition, mental health, sleep management, weight loss. We've had some awesome conversations this season in particular about these different areas and how they all do roll up under health and wellness decisions that people are making every day before they become a patient. Do those types of areas, the preventive, like the wellness space, the health space, do those spaces make sense to be connected to platforms like what you have out there now? And I'm just curious what that looks like.
Absolutely. I love this question because I think all of the items you mentioned, they're really part of a whole person model of care, and they go hand in hand. I don't even think that they're adjacent to healthcare. I think they're rather central to a patient's health. So as we think about our primary care providers, a number of the conditions that you just talked about. So if we're talking about nutrition, we're talking about integrative health or integrated health. We're talking about nutrition. We have mental health, behavioral health integrated into our primary care practice so that when a patient is coming in, it's not just about anxiety or depression, but if there's something around their weight loss journey. 50% of patients who are coming to Ovatient and our primary care offering, they're seeking help or they have a diagnosis for obesity, or they're seeking help with their weight loss journey. We have not advertised this one bit, but patients, it is incredibly convenient. The patients are engaged, they're motivated, they're able to utilize the insurance that they have access to the high quality pharmacies that exist within the health system customers that we have. And I think that these are perfect use cases for what we're doing. And I think too, the one thing that I kind of always joke about is we're never going to provide virtual bariatric surgery. Like that's just something that's never going to happen. Like we're a virtual care company, but we can get connected in that patient for that patient and provide them with that option. If that makes sense, we're going to be that trusted provider, bring them along and be able to get them connected to maybe there is a sleep specialist, or we're able to incorporate behavioral health into that journey, get them connected to a higher level of care around weight loss, or we can manage their weight loss journey through a medical or a prescription weight loss journey. Yes, we might be prescribing GLP-1s, or there might be other options to be able to support them in their weight loss.
Where do you see yourself taking Ovatient in the next 6 to 12 months? And I guess I should explicitly ask, we talked about MUSC and Metro Health. Are you open to collaborating with other health systems? We'd love to hear more about that.
We are looking to secure and onboard our third customer, actively looking for a fourth. What I like to say here is that I'd rather serve 5 states or 5 regions and 500,000 patients than be in 50 states. So really, this is virtual first, local always. We want to be connected to the systems that we're in, get to know the communities that we serve and the patients and the care teams that are there. So the next 6 to 12 months, it's really about scaling at MUSC and at Metro Health. We've learned a ton. I want to be able to really mature and improve the processes that we have today and make sure that we're bringing on new providers, new customers. We have everything in where they need to be. We are going to be tripling the size of our integrated primary care practice. So we think this is an incredible opportunity. So really what that means is right now we have 6 primary care providers. We're going to grow to almost 20 primary care providers. We'll probably double the size of our behavioral health providers. We're also what I'm pretty excited about is we're integrating behavioral health into a number of the specialties within our health systems. So for at MUSC or for Metro Health, right now we're looking at to say, how can we support doing integrated OB behavioral health? So what that means is we've seen so many patients who are coming in, they need that and virtual care works phenomenally for them. They're needing those behavioral health supports. And so we're meeting regularly with their OB providers. We're doing case consultations. It's not just a referral source. We're really trying to say, how are you as the OB going to be the quarterback for that patient and their journey? And we're supporting you then with behavioral health and partnering in a team-based OB approach. So that's one area that I think I'm excited about. And then also I mentioned just My Care Anywhere and our launch that we did that at Metro Health. We're looking specifically how we can help them grow their employer-based and employer-sponsored plans or their narrow network product. They have a product called Skyway. And we think with My Care Anywhere, that can be a differentiator that they take to their employer customers. And we love MyChart, but I think being able to differentiate on top of it that's something we see is it can still be connected to MyChart and the relationship with Metro Health, but they can provide a differentiated digital experience through our My Care Anywhere platform.
Very smart.
Well, it all comes back to who we're serving with all of this, right? If our goal is to make healthcare more consumer-centered, make it easier and less friction for everyday people, that's what we're getting at the heart of all this. And this is an important piece of that puzzle. What do you say to consumers who you're trying to serve with your platform? If you had a message to share with them, especially those who are struggling to navigate that healthcare journey on their own?
I think a lot about this one because it's the reason really why we built our chassis on Epic. And that was not easy. But I think if you believe that convenient care can somehow be had without continuity, you're absolutely wrong. Convenient care without continuity, it's a false bargain. A patient, a consumer, they have to demand both. Because if you just get that convenient care and there's nothing longitudinal, it's purely episodic in what happens over the course of time. You are more than an episode as a patient. So I think it's really important that you stress that you have to keep your data portable. You should ask, not just about asking questions for your provider. Even if you have that episodic visit, ask and research how information from that visit is going to be shared with your provider or a care team, other members of your personal care team, so that your data doesn't get lost in a data silo. I think that's really important because otherwise you're going to lose really that contextual basis that you need for your care, for your wellness.
I think Zane and I always look at guests that help us both open our eyes and kind of see what's possible here. And this has for sure been the case today, because especially that thought of digital health homes, which I'll try not to steal, but I think we're going to be using that. We'll pay the rights, or we need to.
How can folks learn more about Ovatient or maybe get in contact? Sounds like y'all are open for partnership. I bet there'd be people listening who would want to learn more about what you guys are doing.
They can go to our website. They can reach out to me directly. It's mdalton@ovatient.com. And they can reach out to me directly. I'm happy to be able to connect and talk to them about what we're building, what we can offer for their health system. We are looking for partners as well as we think about building out our own digital ecosystem. We know that we can't do it all alone. I would say that while we do have our own care delivery team, our own medical practice, there's some great other virtual care partners out there, digital health offerings. I think about one like Oshi Health. They do really good work. So as I think about that, we're looking for equal-minded and partners that are really focused on providing high-quality care that just happens to be delivered virtually.
It's already happening. Like modern patients today are really just being surrounded by a constellation of digital services, maybe not necessarily a traditional brick and mortar health system like in the past. So it's interesting to see sort of this new digital health system that's starting to form around, your straight up telehealth, your virtual care, for digital first primary care, and then all these chronic disease management programs that are out there. And so it's exciting. The only thing I'd ask is just keep one login for it all. I can't remember my password for 10 different things.
That's what we really tried to do is if you're going to connect with your health system and you already have a username and password, let's leverage that, because no one wants to be able to all right, well, now I have 3, 4, 5 different passwords. No one wants that. You have one key to your home. You don't want to see?
Write that down.
So fun. We could spend a whole other episode just on the analogy. Maybe that's what we'll have to do. We'll have you back and let's go deeper on that. But Michael, it's been a pleasure to have you. Thanks for everything you're doing to make healthcare more consumer-centered. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciated it.